What's good? This is Pavan, aka Orifice Vulgatron from the Foreign Beggars crew. You're listening to Shotgun The Aux, yeah? Shut up.
Which brings us to our guest for episode 37 of Shotgun The Aux, Vulgatron. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. It's been a long couple of days, but
And
very happy
Had a
to
long
be
journey
here.
down, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just been a few days long, man. Like we played in Budapest and then early journey to Athens. Did the show there. Then I had loads of people playing throughout the night, so I didn't get back to the hotel till about 9 a.m. and then had to get a flight to Luton, go home,
Oh, man.
change my clothes, get to Sussex, wake up, do a photo shoot in the field all day, and then take 4 trains to come here. So
Yeah.
So, man, I feel like a bit silly. We're like a UK hip-hop podcast, and even having a need to introduce you is just like an insult, really. Like,
don't know,
Orifice
man.
Vulgatron, Foreign Beggar crew.
What's good?
But, man, honestly, truly humbled. I've been a fan for you guys for years now, as long as I can remember. And obviously, like, pivotal in the UK hip-hop scene. You guys went off in a completely different trajectory and kind of crossed over several different sonic landscapes.
Yeah, man.
So, like, in terms of that sound, what was that like a conscious decision to do that? And if you hadn't have done that, do you think that you would have still had the kind of longevity that you've had and success that you've had?
I think, there's a couple of sides to it. I mean, for us, like, I've always been into different types of music, you know. So when I first moved to this country with Dag Nabbit in about 99, you know, our main intention when we came here was to start a drum and bass record label, you know. So we started making hip hop in about 96, 97, and then started hearing all the jungle stuff that was coming out and just fell in love with that. So we were making hip hop, but then doing, you know, throwing jungle raves in Dubai, and with the intention of like, okay, cool, we're gonna move to London one day, start a fucking drum and bass record label. So that was the plan.
Jungle raves and just Dubai.
Yeah, so that's we started throwing our own raves out there, like, because obviously no one else was doing it, so we wanted to have raves, you know. So we started throwing parties and stuff. I mean, I started rapping in '96. There, had a crew, and it was just house parties, and then, you know, we were underage, so we couldn't necessarily rent out clubs and stuff. So we would go clubbing, but we couldn't actually officially rent out the clubs.
Was this in Dubai when you came?
Yeah.
What was the hip hop
Like
scene?
in the late 90s.
We got like step by step with the questions.
Yeah.
We were going to ask the same question.
Yeah, nah. So it's like, so it's just started. I mean, like we had this hip hop crew, and then just started hearing all the my friends coming back from London just started bringing back all like the jungle tape packs, you know, like the early ones, like the Roast, and then AWOL and One Nation and the Helter Skelter things, and that's when I first heard like Stevie Hyper D, Mickey Finn, Brocky, all of that kind of shit. And then, you know, because when I first started rapping, because I lived here but I moved back, you know, I'd already heard UK rap music, so I never felt to rap in like a different accent. You know, I always came with it was natural for me to rap in a British accent. So, then hearing the jungle stuff, I was just like, what the fuck is this, bro? And then so we just started just fucking ordering loads of jungle records in and started making mixtapes, and we're like, fuck it, we got to do a rave. So just started renting out like sports halls, you know, and then just like acting like we were having a private party, but then slyly start throwing raves or house parties, and it was just throwing parties and having just raving it up.
You hear about
Like-
Dubai being quite like strict in terms of a lot of things. So how did was that not even an issue?
I mean, it is strict in many respects, and it's like you have to respect the general protocol. You know what I'm saying? You can't, you know, it's strict and it's also lenient. You know, you can do a lot of things there. They're very open with entertainment. It's completely different to Saudi Arabia. In those days, like the best entertainment that you would get is just fucking cover bands in hotels. Everybody's playing Hotel California again. You know, so it's
Big up
like
the Eagles.
you know, but like nowadays it's very different because like there's, you know, it's a much more cosmopolitan, much more. It's a big city, you know, and there's people from all over the world there on quick contracts, and it's very media driven. So you have a lot of, you know, younger and interested people who want different types of entertainment. So you can go out and hear techno, or you can go out and hear jungle, you can go out and, you know, UK rappers are in town. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of because it's become a bit of a glamorous place, like.
Yo, can you hold up a sec? I think your feed's here, man. Hello.
So what we're saying, yeah. So Dubai it is a strict place in terms of they have their protocols, and I think it's mainly based on respect. You know what I'm saying? And because it's, you know, it is a Muslim, you know, environment, and but it is very open. They're very progressive, but it just comes down to basic, you know, cultural respect things. You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't fuck on the beach, don't drink alcohol in public. You know, don't make noise. I mean, I think there's a few things there which are very difficult for people to swallow because of. Again, this gets into interesting territory about shit that whether you can talk about it or not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to criticize, but it's one of those things where like these are the rules. If you want to be here and work here and live in this environment, you have to obey the rules, and that's that. So there is a lot of space for creativity. There is a lot of space for interesting things to happen. And in terms of entertainment now, it's like it's not as strict as it was back in the day where. The censorship laws there were really, really harsh. But now, if a death metal band wants to come to town, as long as they're not saying, fuck Jesus, fuck, all, like that kind of stuff, then, they can come and play, they're not going to get...
And you came from a metal background, didn't you, originally?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were doing, kind of like, coming back to your question, like, in the 90s in Dubai, like, we were all in bands. That's how I met Dag Nabbit, We were in school together, but we used to play... We just used to play in different like grunge and metal bands at the time, Like for kids at that time, there wasn't really any entertainment. Either you go to school, or you do sports, or you do like your tuition at home, or you just join a band. Really, so we would just put our own shows on. And in my house, I was lucky we had this like back room. I've got 3 younger brothers as well, so we all play music. 2 of them are twins. One's a drummer, one's a guitarist. So we had our own band, and. The fact that it wasn't connected to our house meant that we could make as much noise as we like. So all the kids from all the other bands would just come around to my house. We'd have like 15, 20 kids there every day just jamming out and writing music. So we've all been writing like original music since like 93, 94. Mm-hmm. And then, these kids from States moved to town, and one of them was a rapper. The other one started rapping, and I was like, yo, I could do this, but didn't have any bars yet. So then that's when I started rapping. When I lived in England before that, between like 93, 94, 95, I was very much into the hip hop thing because I was writing graffiti from them young days as well. So I understood the culture and I really appreciated it, but I never thought to be an MC, it just hadn't crossed my mind yet. Even though I've been listening to, rap music since I was, as a fan since I was about 10 or 11. It was trippy when you had Maestro in here the other day. All the tracks that he was talking about are exactly the same tracks. So when kind of like opened my mind. Like America's Most Wanted, that Ice Cube album, NWA, Eazy-E does it. Like Eazy-E was my favorite MC at that point. So it was between Eazy-E and Two Live Crew. Two Live Crew was a big influence for me. So it was just so like controversial and greasy that kind of got hooked.
I love the early footage of Eazy-E. Obviously, he was kind of like. He was more of like a character, wasn't he? So they really had to school him in the studio to get that signature sound from him. Yeah. Because they saw something in him. They knew that he wasn't like the most skilled technically as an MC.
Even if you listen to it now, like... Just saying, like, even if you listen to it now, it sounds kind of shit, but... you just gotta fuck with him, man. And the kind of shit that comes out of his mouth is just ridiculous. I think that's... Hearing all of that kind of stuff was a big influence in terms of... where I got my style from in terms of saying the most outrageous things that nobody else would ever say. I think that's kind of...
Man. I want to go off on a quick tangent when you mentioned that. So I think listening to your lyrics throughout your kind of like your career, I've always thought that you've struck a balance between like talking about kind of political issues and quite like heavy hitting introspective themes, but you also joke about a lot as well. Yeah. So I remember like the Frosted Perspex track that you released on Asylum Speakers. I think was that the B-side of Hold On? Yeah, that came out as a B-side of Hold On. We dropped that. The first time we ever put that tune out was on the Undercover Magazine CD. We gave it away as a free track. But that's one of my favourite tracks on the album because you just you spaz on all the verses, but it's that things are getting drastic. I see man are groping plastic breasts. Say the masochisms and spastic pets having sex. Yeah, it's kind of like... I was just like, what the fuck? This is insane. I mean, that's kind of like I kind of just slipped into like my mode, Like, It's really strange because I mean, I kind of like the inspiration for like the tone of that tune was hearing how Skinny and Task Force kind of did songs where they're kind of storytelling or addressing the next generation. Mm-hmm. So when I wrote those verses, I kind of wrote it as if I was speaking to children. Yeah. So I wrote it from a perspective of like telling a story to kids. So like a lot of I didn't get too kind of metaphorical and tangled with the lyrics, it's kind of direct, I'm just saying what it is. Mm-hmm.
But then obviously, like some of the rhyming structures got mad, and then obviously some stupid shit came into my head, so I slipped at the end of a couple of the verses and talked some greasy shit.
I love that though, man.
But
That's your
it's
your
fun,
signature kind of. You just think,
But
that's
no,
OV,
I like
man.
it. It's
Do you know what I mean?
entertainment. I mean, for us, like, I think it was always very important for us to say something. I mean, I think growing up in the kind of environments that we did, being an Indian kid growing up in Dubai, because there's like there's different tiers in terms of how the society is placed and where you fit and what you can say and what rights you have, and then
Oh, really?
Is that
yeah,
kind,
yeah.
Is that kind of
we'll come back. We'll come back to that. Anyway, and then I got sent to boarding school when I was really young because the Gulf War broke out in that area, and my parents wanted to get the kids out, so I went to small school like on the out, in a small village in Kent in 1990, and the year I got there is the year they stopped caning people. So I mean, so there's like there was just a different level of kind of, I don't know, just a lot. You learn a lot of shit in those ages. So kind of being different kids, because we were quite Americanized when we were young as well. Because my mum grew up in San Francisco, so when we got there, we had American accent.
Yeah.
We were just different to like these kids from Kent, basically. So had a lot of shit and kind of growing up in that environment. But I mean, I think. It was kind of really important for me to finally get to a place where I could actually express myself and talk about the things that had caused me depression for quite a few years in terms of the injustices in the world. And I think that's what a beautiful thing with hip hop. It kind of gives you, a platform to say what the fuck you want, how you want to say it. You know what I'm saying? Man. And it's like a lot of the people you would be talking about, they wouldn't even understand. They don't even respect the medium to be able to digest the information you're talking about. So you're really communicating with people who really get you all over the world, or who kind of need to hear that. Mm-hmm. So that was really important for me. So coming back to like, I mean, obviously I just told you I grew up, like my first favorite rap crews were fucking Eazy-E and Two Live Crew. So that set a certain precedent for me. But then get into a place where you can actually express yourself. And I think just a lot of the UK rap music that was coming out at the time, like Task Force, Jess, Skinny Man, and the fact that you could actually stand up and say something about things, kind of. I mean, I think that a thing with the other guys in the group as well. We kind of experienced a lot of oppression and racism and just kind of marginalization in different ways. So it was kind of empowering to be able to speak about those kinds of things with a certain degree of understanding and experience, and also, I don't want to say intellectual perspective that isn't like super lofty. You know what I mean? So
So what was the first platform you were putting your music out on?
Oh, then like we set our own label up, man.
Right.
Like we basically like just before I started Foreign Beggars, I left uni when I was 21. Didn't get my degree. I left to do music full time.
Yeah.
And this was in the UK now.
Yeah, this is in like 2001.
Yeah.
So I left just with the sole purpose of getting this music thing popping, and so basically between 2001 and the end of 2002, we kind of were working on our tunes. By like mid 2001, I reckon we were ready with Where Did the Sun Go, Evil Doctor Hip Hop, I think, Dark Parts, and there was like 5 or 6 other tunes that were ready to go, and I was trying to get them signed and speaking to labels and just speaking to all sorts of people and getting dicked around and aired, and got to the point where we even had this girl who was a manager who said, like, she called me up when I was at home on Christmas, and she was like, "Yo, guess what? I just signed a 2 EP distribution deal for you guys with Groove Attack," and so I was like, "Fuck, wicked! Finally, got tunes gonna come out on Wax. They want to sign these 2 and then these 2." I was with my family, so obviously I turned around, cracked the champers, just signed our first records and everything. Turned out to be complete bullshit. Yeah. So it was like nothing happened. She was just fucking talking out of her ass. Come back. So at that point, I was like, "You've wasted a lot of my time." So I made her pay for the first record. I was like, "Well, you need to put the money up for the first record then." And then went and started it myself. And then that's when I started Dented Records to put out our own stuff, because I was fed up of being dicked around by people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how the label started. So we dropped Where Did the Sun Go? And the flip was Piss Take Pictures. And we got fucked around with that shit as well. Like, I remember, because I was at uni near Marylebone High Street, and I kept bumping into Farmer G, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck you doing around?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is where the independent pressing office, Brain Tax office is." So I was like, "All right, cool. I think my record's ready to go. Take me to meet him." Anyway, so went to him and I just went to get some advice to ask him if I took the tracks. I was like, do I need to master this shit before I put it? I'm gonna press it with you. And he was like, no, don't worry, you don't need to master it. So I was like, all right, cool. So paid him for the test pressings, whatever, for 500-600 quid.
So this was brain tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so go through, find get the first test presses back, and I'm like, all right, cool, wicked. And then I remember the thing that clinched it, like near my uni, was DJ No Names and Giz Rock from the Mixologist. They were doing a DJ set, and I just had the white labels, and I walked in. I was like, yo, I got the wax, bro. Like, pray. I took the test presses. So I gave it to him, and then he played it, and literally it sounded like complete fucking shit. Obviously, because it hasn't been mastered, right? So if you put an unmastered track straight out of fucking
you were
reason,
expecting him to get it mastered for you.
no, I just asked him if I need to master it,
Right,
and he said no.
right.
He said you don't need to master it.
And
It's
does that boil down to kind of you being young in the game and being kind of
it's
slightly naive
just like,
to it?
why are you scared? I didn't. I've never pressed a wax before, so I asked for his advice.
Yeah, of course.
So, what are you telling me? I don't need to master the like. He obviously knew I needed to master the record, so it was either I don't know what the fuck it was. Anyway, so I gave him the record. It sounded completely shit. I was thrown back, and then I had to take it and go and get it mastered again, and then come back and go through that process again with him.
Yeah.
But, maybe so I was naive, and he knew I was going to come back to him, or if I just put a shit record out, or it was competition or whatever the fuck it was, because those are good tunes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, Where Did the Sun Go? It did its own thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
And that ended
I
up
think
on,
it's on par with any of the low life releases that were coming out at the time. So it's like,
because that ended up on Asylum Speakers alongside. Because on the season's beatings, you had that coded rhythm talk with
that was the second
Task
single.
Force.
That was the second single that came out, but
And that also ended up on Asylum Speakers as well, man. Because
yeah.
it's like a catalogue of so many like classic UK heads on that album, man.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
man.
mean? Like,
Fra-
Syntax, you got like fucking Ed Skrein on that album.
Scrizzle's on there.
Fucking hell. And he's doing
Graziella's
bits
on there.
in Hollywood now,
Cashmere's on there. Tommy Evans is on there. Who else? There's one joint. Basically, there was one track I was supposed to do with Out DeVille as well. And if you look at the first press release for Where Did the Sun Go, I talk about the album's coming and it's featuring everybody. It says we got this track with Out DeVille coming, but then the scores disappeared, so that track never got made. So that's why on 22 Karma, on that track, I had to do the tune with scores. I was like, bruv, listen. It's funny, man. I gave that tune to Dyke. Just didn't do it. And then I gave it to Baxter. And then he was just slow on it. And I was like, what the fuck? Everyone's airing me. I was like, yo, fuck, let me just give this one to Scores. And then Scores came through and done it, which is cool.
You were on Dyke's recent album, weren't you? Rex 01, man. That was a banger. Yeah, so
I'm glad we got something done.
Yeah,
man.
Because obviously, like going back to what I was saying, and you went off on that kind of dubstep trajectory, and you've linked up and collaborated with some major heads in the game. Obviously, I Am Legion, your collaboration project with Noisia, and they're Dutch, right?
Yeah.
And then you've worked with Sonny Moore, or AKA Skrillex.
Yeah.
People probably most know him for. So what made you go in that direction?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was saying. So basically, because obviously I was saying we've been into all kinds of music from before. So when we started doing the Foreign Beggars shows in the beginning, we was always bringing elements of jungle into the show,
Right.
and this and that. And then I think in about 2004 or 5, we started bringing like the 140 stuff into the set. And I think it was, I don't know, it was just kind of like, I think after we done Straight Point Agenda, and then, I don't know, I just made that hit. I went to, I think it was around the time when, that was probably before the whole Ed Banger shit. It was around the time. Was it before the time the whole Ed Banger shit was popping off? But I don't know. It's just new dope sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, like, I don't know. We done Straight Point Agenda. Then we dropped Hit That Gash, which pissed everybody off.
Oh, we got to talk about that. We got
Yeah,
to talk
man.
about it. And it's who are the French heads on that again?
Yeah, Rouge à Lèvres.
Rouge à Lèvres, man.
So they flipped their style up and they were just rapping on pure deep house beats. And I was like, it's fucking amazing.
That
so
track
like,
is sick, man.
So I signed my boy Tom Routier hit me up on MySpace and he was like, yo, I'm a big fan. I want to sign something for you guys. We're working with this label in France called Undercover. So I licensed a project to them over there. But he wanted to do a couple of exclusive tracks. So he's like, you need to meet these guys. This guy Grams, This Is La Peste. They've got this new thing called Rouge à Lèvres. Send me a couple of bits. I was like, this is mad. So literally just flew out to Biarritz. Got there. They're just in this warehouse. John 9000's warehouse, all of this analog gear, and they're just banging out these fucking sexy deep house bits, but they're all spraying on them like rap tunes and making songs. And I was like, this is vibe. So
have you heard that, Aiden?
I don't think I have.
Oh man, Hit That Gash. It is
Yeah.
such a fucking banger. And there's
So
a couple of
I was-
remixes of that as well, isn't there?
So I was there, like, anyway, so I just kind of just kicked it, just kind of observing, and then it just like popped into my head, jumped in, made the tune, and they were like, yeah, this is sick. And then, you know, they jumped on it, and then they arranged, and Grems was like, we're doing a video for this, so we were doing a Transmusical show in Paris, and he was like, all right, cool, we're going to go shoot this video. Which is like Tony Truon, who ended up being the guy who made the Contact video, the Shell Shock video. Then he went and did like all the Skrillex Bangarang videos, and they did about 4 or 5 different videos for Skrill. But that all started with fucking, you know, the Grems link up, who done, you know, from that Hit That Gash tune. But anyway, so we done that track, and then I think it was around the time we were making Begatron, and I kind of feel, I think like when we were doing the Straight Point Agenda time, we were kind of deep into like, you know, the Stones Throw movement. You know, it was kind of deep into like the Madlib Dilla shit that was going on. Obviously, listen to all the UK stuff, but then Necro, Wadji, you know, just the shit that was going on at that time that really kind of was working with us. You know, it was around the time Mad Villain came out, the J-Lib album came out, and then kind of just after that was like, because I think there was like a 2 or 3 year gap, so we moved out where we were living in Cricklewood. We made that album up there, then moved to studio in Whitechapel, and we're just consistently making tracks. It was the time we met Ghost Town as well. And Ghost Town's sound was kind of like glitchy, but it was a bit more synthy, kind of moving in that direction, and also kind of just loving, just, you know, because like I think all the barriers were kind of slowly getting broken down between like, you know, house music wasn't just you know, in its own corner, and it was kind of becoming a bit more fun, like with the fidget house stuff, and then Jack Beats, who are mixologists, you know, they're like, you know, from the hip hop scene, plus one from Scratch Perverts and Benny G, started doing their kind of like wompy, like dubstep kind of, I mean, like dubstep inspired bassline, but like jacking house, you know, like that Jack Beats house shit, and then, you know, like that kind of stuff with the Fake Blood, and, you know, everything that was going on was kind of like mixing up and becoming kind of hot and different, and then so I was like, and then kind of we did Gash at the same time. I don't know if, I think Gash was maybe slightly before that, but it was just kind of like, for me, I just like, you know, when we do our beggar shows, we want to have a fucking party as well. There's the point.
Sorry, going through your entire sort of catalogue.
Yeah.
It's like, it's obviously you've got hip hop, but you're always sort of being drawn to that drum and bass, dubstep sort of sound. So what is it about that sort of sound that you're drawn to?
I love raving, you know what I'm saying? Like, when we moved here, we intended to start a drum and bass label in the beginning. And just love it. It's also just very UK, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I love
man.
garage music. I love garage music, and then I love drum and bass music, and then was listening to garage music since 95, 96, raving to that stuff, and then seeing that kind of emerge and turn into, you know, whatever the new school breaks was, and then turn into like two-step, turn into grime, turn into dubstep, you know what I'm saying? So we were kind of there as part of it, but we weren't necessarily making that because we were putting out hip-hop records. But I don't see why anything should just be like, oh, you do this, you do this. You know what I mean? It's like, if I want to make a fucking, like, in the beginning, like when we were setting the tone with Foreign Beggars, you know, when we were putting out Silent Speakers, we had to kind of really set the tone and set the purpose. And I think in those times, if you come out as a rap group, you can't just do any kind of random shit. You really had to you had to come out on wax, which was very important. And you know, you couldn't just drop a wax and drop a couple of singles here. You had to drop a fucking album. You have to drop a body of work. And you know, for me, like, because I grew up on rock and roll, grew up on heavy metal, and seen how when a band puts an album out, they go on tour. They don't go on tour locally, they go on a fucking world tour. So it's like, put singles out,
big.
put an album out, go on tour. I want to go on tour. I want to go on a fucking world. I want to play in every single country in the world. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that was the agenda. And I think for me, it's like being, also there's a certain, a show is about entertainment, you know, and it's about, we can get our message across. And even in the beginning, when you see a Foreign Beggars show, we would never do like, okay, here's this song, here's a verse, chorus, verse, end, and then play another song. It was like, we'll play, like, we will switch it up like a DJ set. So we'll play like, the beats will flip every 16 bars, or the chorus. You know, we just make new versions. Like half of the set were tracks that would never even come out. You know, it was just stuff that we do for the live show. There's like 15 minutes of just pure freestyle, and then the kind of energy builds, and then we go into 140, and then 140 turns it into a slightly different rave. Or when you start dropping 140 bangers in a rave, you know, like it does something different to the crowd and the energy, and kind of blows it up and takes it up a level.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all about us really putting a live show together, and that's kind of why we started releasing 140 music later, because we were dropping so many other people's beats in the set and shelling on it, but we didn't have any of our own. So we're like, fuck it, let's make some of our own bangers.
So a lot of your music you're making for that live act, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, with the electronic stuff, that's fucking rave party music. So we get the
Yeah.
rave pop, you know, popping.
Man, I saw
you know?
some footage recently of you like stage diving from mad heights, man.
Yeah, bro.
So what's
Yeah, bro.
What's the livest shit that's ever gone down at a beggar's gig?
Fuck. All kinds of shit, man. Fuck. Okay. What, like making like 15,000 people do a wall of death? Like,
Well, there's that. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
actually, I'm gonna fucking categorically claim this shit right now, because
God.
I brought Wall of Death. I brought Wall of Death to electronic music and rap music, and you can all suck my fucking dick. Yeah, Google me, you motherfuckers, right? And I'll tell you why. And when. It was when it was like 2009 when we did like 2000. Yeah, no, it was about 2008, 2009 when we were making the Begatron album, and we dropped the fucking the Bar 9 remix of Seven Figure Swagger.
Oh,
Right,
man,
right.
that's
Yeah,
a
with
tune.
Double Edge, right?
Such a
So we
tune.
got a Bar 9 remix on there. This is when from MySpace days, yo. Anyway, so I was trying to make a little promo video of that. So I was looking for circle pits for the Seven Figure Swagger video. And that's when I seen Lamb of God do the fucking Wall of Death thing.
Oh shit, man.
And I was
That
like,
video.
yo, this is fucked. So I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna try this. So he started doing it in our shows, and then everybody else started doing it.
Oh well, you heard it here.
Do you know what I'm saying?
He's locked it down.
If you can find another rap group, or if you can find another fucking electronic music group that did a Wall of Death before that fucking Bar 9 tune come out, I'll shake your hand. But same way, I didn't see it. I did it on my own.
So how did you link with like Skrillex and
Okay,
people like that?
so-
Because obviously he's blown up, hasn't he?
Okay, so this is an interesting story, because obviously I left uni and I'm living here, and so when I left uni, they gave me a 10-year multiple entry tourist visa to live here because I have an Indian passport. I'm from Dubai, so kind of coming back and forth between here and Dubai, trying to get this music thing working, and I wasn't allowed to move here as an artist at the time because I had to show that I'm a famous artist in my country of residence, invoicing more than 20,000 euros a year. Obviously,
Is
there's
that
no UK
actually what you
hip hop
gotta
scene
do?
in Dubai. Yeah, at that time. Anyway, so I'm like figuring it all out, trying to get my career popping, this and that, like living between here and there. But to live over there, I had to figure out an employment situation. So anyway, so this is the flex I had to run for years. You know what I'm saying? So the fucked up thing is I got a lot of legal advice. I spoke to about 6 or 7 different lawyers here and said, this is my situation. There's no scene over there for me to be a famous artist, but I'm starting to do all of this stuff, which is becoming something over here, and I'm starting to get some kind of world recognition, but not necessarily invoicing a certain amount and whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so they were all like, no, there's nothing you can do. You have to leave. No, there's nothing you can do about it. Sorry. Unless you get signed to a major label, or I'm like, fuck, which major label's trying to sign Orifice Vulgatron or Foreign Beggars? You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even necessarily even start having those conversations with people. Anyway, it's like, so I goes, you know, if I did speak to some people and I told them my situation, they're like, oh, sorry, we can't, you know, like whatever the fuck. Anyway, so just had to like pad it along and keep it going until it got to a point where I was coming back from some shows on March 2010, coming back from some shows in France. And basically they asked me a bunch of questions. What are you doing? I just have an Indian passport. I said, yeah, I'm just passing through for a few days. Live in Dubai. This is my family business. This is what we do. And he's like, all right, cool. So what were you doing here? So kind of to keep it going, I was like, oh, I was here at a couple of trade shows and what have you. And he's like, oh, show me some documentation. Anyway, so like, he searches my bag. This is at Gare du Nord in Paris. Finds some tickets that say Foreign Beggars. And he's like, what's this? Takes me to the side, goes to the back, Googles me, comes back with a whole bunch of paper. And like, he's like Wikipedia and all of this shit. And he's like, either you tell me the truth about what this is, or I can ban you for up to 10 years. Yeah, man, them are already on the fucking train. Eurostar coming back.
No.
Anyway, so I broke it down, told him what it is. I'm in this band. I'm in a catch-22 situation because I'm not a famous artist in my country of residence, invoicing money through a business over there, but this exists over here. And, you know, I just basically just had to tell him what it is. Do you know what I mean? So I was honest with him, broke it down. And what he did was, like, he went to the back, kind of, like, took sympathy on me because I just told him, look, this is what it is. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, what? This is what I do. This is what I'm, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so came back, cancelled my visa, banned me from applying for a year. But literally, I had to turn me away at fucking Garden Or my backpack. I had to call the guys on the chain, be like, you know that shit that can happen, yeah? Just happened.
Oh,
yeah.
fucking
And
hell,
they're
man.
like, da because like I run the label, I do most of the work, you know what I mean? So it's like, just had to figure it out. And it was so true, bro. It was so trippy, man. Like when I'm sitting there in fucking Garden Nord, like a little fucking immigration bitch. Yeah.
Man.
So my grandma's sister, she has she has a grandson who's like 1 year younger than me, right? Who we used to play when we were kids, and he finished A levels and he went to uni. I didn't finish uni. I left to do this rap shit. He went to Oxford. He works at Deutsche Bank. He's coming back from Tuscany with his lovely wife. And I see him, I'm like, oh, yo, what's up, cuz? How you doing? I'm sitting on a bitch. Like, whatever. I'm like,
Oh, man.
I don't give a fuck, no. I love this shit. I don't care.
Oh, that's wild, man.
Anyway, big up Samir, man. I'm still here, bro. Anyway, so that happened. It was hilarious. And then I see another friend of mine come through and they all got stopped. And he was a drummer at Placebo at the time. And he was
Really?
like, but his documents were all right. And I was like, all right, see you later, bro. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so so I turned around, backpack, had some shows in Belgium and Holland. We'd already started working with Noisia at that point, and we were had a bunch of touring in Australia, New Zealand, that side. So I went home. So I was going via Dubai anyway, and then go back to Australia, New Zealand. But I moved back to Dubai. But I was like, look, I can't sit here like a bitch back home at my parents' house, you know. So I mean, I could have stayed there. Obviously, like it would have saved some money on rent, but I couldn't like fly out to Europe every weekend. You know what I mean? That adds like £700-800 to every flight. So I just spoke to Noisia and I decided to move to base myself in Holland. So I moved to Holland, was living with Noisia, lived there for like 6 months. Didn't actually make any music in that time, funnily enough. But when I moved into Noisia, Walter's, their manager's house, Sonny Skrilla just come as well, and he'd done a Sonny Moore album in the States, and basically they decided to shelve it because he wanted to just flip it up and do some electronic stuff. So he's coming to Europe to meet Noisia, Borgor, and some guy called DJ Mustard Seed.
And were you a fan before you met him?
I never met. I didn't even know his music. I mean, that kind of generation of fucking emo rock music was after. You know what I mean? Like I used to listen to fucking death metal since 1990, and then I kind of like. You know, I mean, I still love Alice in Chains. I love all the grunge stuff. We could talk about metal, but when it kind of came to like young kids emo stuff, like, you know, I was already like 10 years past that. So I'm not trying to, you know, whatever. It was just a different generation for me. Do you know what I'm saying?
What's your favourite Alice in Chains album?
Oh, bro.
Dirt.
Come on. Dirt, Facelift, they're both banging,
be Dirt, man.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Even the Unplugged shit, Sap is good, bruv. It's just flawless all the way through.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Sonny moves in, I move in, same day. And he's like, yo, meet each other, rare. So they link up in the studio, and then he fucks off to meet Borgor and this Mustard Seed guy, but then he decides he wants to work with Noisia, so he moves back in. And we're just living in, this is like, I think like Skrillex had like 2,000 followers on Twitter or something. It was his little baby side
Early
project that he was doing. But yeah, so he done a Sonny Moore album with Noisia. I was there for the whole thing. I'd done a collaboration on that album as well. And basically, it was a problem between that album, yeah. Like if that album came out, it would have fucked the game up because it was like a cross between what Pendulum were doing, Sub Focus was doing, all the Ed Banger records were doing, and the new fucking, you know, just the slight predecessor of what Bro Step was, you know, like what Rusko and those guys were doing, you know, early Rusko Casper shit, fused with Noisia, fused with Pendulum, fused with Ed Banger, yeah. And it was songs, and he's singing on top, like with his fucking Michael Jackson level fucking vocals. And it was like, I could still sing you all the songs because I like, you know, hearing them in the studio. That's how like hooky and catchy they were. But there was a problem with the management. So management just couldn't come to a fucking agreement with the deal. But while he was there, he was making all of the stuff that came out on that fucking Scary Monsters EP. He started some of those tunes. And then so while that fucking dispute was going on, by that time I'd left Holland. So he just hit me up because I introduced him to Flux Pavilion. I introduced him to Tommy Schism. I introduced him to Bear Noise. I showed him Bear Noise, and then they started working. Then he hits me up with the Scatter tune.
So this, because there was a period of time where a lot of like that sort of music was charts, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, but it's kind of trippy because like this was just before, because like what they did was like he made that whole EP, and then they dropped it on Deadmau5. Like Deadmau5 was fucking humongous at the time, you know, and he was kind of like cutting edge and mad, you know.
Yeah.
He was one of the first dudes to bring that real proper fucking spectacle to electronic music, you know, and in the way that he did, and he dropped it on his label. So I think Mousetrap was probably the hottest label in the world at the time. That was like the new sound, and what they did.
Who's Mousetrap's label?
Oh, it was Deadmau5,
Right.
and it's Deadmau5's label.
Oh yeah,
Right,
man,
right.
Deadmau5.
Yeah.
He's not been about a minute, has he?
Yeah, he's been about for a minute. So he was one of the hottest, biggest electronic artists at the time.
Yeah.
So he dropped it on his label, but the thing is, I think the way they dropped it was really strategic, man. I think what they did was they dropped it only on Beatport, and they fucking blasted it. But because it was so hot, because it had Noisia, because it had all of the other tracks, and you know, it kind of literally just went to the number one on Beatport and just fucking stayed there, and it just kept on going and going and going and going and going. And the thing is, like, because like he's already a fucking, like, even before, with his band from first to last, and he was already a superstar. So like all of those Sonny Moore kids who've been wanting the next album, literally swathes just fucking got behind it, and bang, like it's at number one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
went straight and got a Grammy. You know, like off the back of that fucking that EP, I think within about 3 months they decided to do a US tour, stadium tour, between 5 to 15,000 people venues.
Within 3 months.
Yeah, within 3 months of that shit coming out, dropped that tour, the Mothership tour, sold out like 70 dates within like 4 hours.
Shit, man.
Are you fucking mad? So like, obviously loads of people hated on the sound, and people are like, what the fuck is this? How come, you know, somebody's changing what dubstep is, you know?
Because
what I
a
mean?
lot of people had that reaction, like it wasn't music, or it was like taking traditional dubstep and making, like,
yeah,
sort
it
of
kind of
smash
gone
it
into
up
slightly. Yeah, it's just like, you know, it's just breaking the rules and doing something different, but it's like commercially viable, so people are pissed off. Like, but it's deep because like everyone was pissed off on behalf of the dubstep artists, but Mallow wasn't pissed off, Koki wasn't pissed off, Scream wasn't pissed off, Bengal wasn't pissed off, N-Type wasn't pissed off. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's like, oh, cool, he's just doing his thing over there. And like, what that actually did was just like, off the back of off the back of them blowing that up the way they did, like the amount of fucking British DJs and British artists who kind of in that similar vein, who just were doing tours just as big as that, like, have all got fucking houses. Their kids have got houses. They got fucking, their kids going to private
So it
schools.
sort of
now.
opened the floodgates in a sense.
Bruv, completely, man. Like,
Yeah.
I know, like, yeah, I mean, I could tell you 30, 40, 50 DJs who now have fucking, you know, £1 million houses because of
Right, start at the top.
that shit. No, man, come on.
I'm joking, mate.
You know, because of what, you know, the doors that he bust down over there. So in terms of whether you like, you know, like the music or not, or how you feel about it, it's all
Yeah.
good. But the thing is, it's like, I think one thing that pissed me off, like, is that, like, for me, it's like when people, because I guess, like, we hadn't dropped, because after Begatron, and then we dropped the Begatron remix album, which was kind of much more into, like, a foray of all the styles of electronic music we were into, you know. And then after dropping the Skrillex track, we dropped Scatter came out.
And remind me what year this was. That's
Scatter came out in 2010.
right.
Because I was, again, not allowed in the country at that time, so I'd recorded that shit in Dubai.
Right.
So that dropped 2010, 2011. And then Ministry of Sound approached us and they said, we really want you to do this Bad Man Rhythm tune. We're like, all right. And they were like, yeah, just do this. It's going to be a top 10 record. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is going to be a top 10 record. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Dipesh is a fucking bad man, and he was completely right. So, like, we recorded the track for him. He comes back to us. He's like, oh, could you just change this line? Could you change these lines? Maybe say this. Like, proper A&R, like, like minor, like, minuscule A&R. Just be like, literally just change one or two words here and there. Change the structure. We're like, all right, cool. Track's done. Bang. Start putting it out. Gets playlisted. And then fucking, bang, the week it comes out, it's number 7. And I'm like, how the fuck? Like, what? I mean, Ministry of Sound is probably one of the only other independent labels that's not a major that knows how to play that game. But like looking at what they did, I see the amount of money and investment and time and energy they put into building up a track. You know what I mean? So as an independent artist, unless you get the direct backative from somebody who's on the playlist who's really pushing and pushing and pushing, you know, it's hard to find 180 grand to put behind a fucking single as an independent artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
But so that dropped, and then we did the still getting it tune.
Yeah,
I think
man.
we recorded Still Getting It when I was still not allowed in the country as well. And the mad thing is with that is recorded Still Getting It. The version of Still Getting It that's out now is an unfinished version, and it's an MP3.
So what were you
Yeah.
recording? Were you recording your part in Dubai and then sending it over?
Well, I was after Holland. I went to Berlin, so
Right,
I was living in Berlin. But wherever the fuck I was I was in Berlin or Seville or
Just find a
Dubai. Like
studio,
I recorded
innit?
my bits. Like I have my shit with me or whatever, man. Like it's not that hard, you know. So like, Still Getting It. Yeah, it was because I was living after Holland. I got a bit bored there, so I moved to Berlin. It's a sick place.
Yeah, Berlin's sick, innit, man?
So that's when we decided to do the EP for fucking Never Say Die, The Harder They Fall. Now, the maddest thing is, right, is like people want to talk about, Foreign Beggars, you know what I mean? Like, because they hear some of the big tunes they get to number one on Beatport or kind of cross over a little bit. But then if you look at the tracks that are on fucking that Harder They Fall EP, got a track with Black Sun Empire on there. There's a track with Laser Sword on there. Do you know what Laser Sword are? Laser Sword are from like California, kind of post just after that whole Dilla shit. They was making some really super exciting, cutting edge forward shit. But it's like everybody doesn't notice that shit. Or like, for example, when we dropped that on Begatron, when we dropped fucking the 7 Figure Swagger remix,
Yeah.
with Bar 9. The track that we did with King Knut, who's a proper beats guy from Norway, a remix of that was done by Machine Drum. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's 2008, and that is a fucking sick piece of music. But people don't really like. They got to a point where I just started hearing people going, Foreign Beggars, that they done, like literally just kind of like sidelining, you know what I mean, like not actually paying attention to what we were doing. But then there's big tunes, so it's easy for people to talk shit about the fact that there's a track in the charts, which is a dance track, you know what I'm saying, without knowing that we're doing all of this other shit.
I
at the
never
same
realised. So
time.
you got a lot of backlash then.
What's that? Yeah, I mean, there was some people talked a lot of shit, but I mean, I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's like I know exactly what we were doing. It's just a bit annoying when you hear people kind of saying negative shit without actually understanding what they're talking about.
Yeah, no context.
So it's all.
I
good,
think you're
but
always going to get that as an artist, though, right? And you just got to carry on doing your thing anyway.
Oh yeah, of course, man. At the end of the day,
Do you develop a thick skin over the years?
Bruv, in the end of the day, right, we've always done whatever the fuck we want to do. I mean, we have a lot of internal discrepancy about what we want to do and where we want to go in terms of, because, he wasn't necessarily into electronic music the same way as I was, and there's always been a heavy balance, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that he's brought to the table over the years, which, kind of has grounded the group in a different way, so...
Yeah. But so back, I think even the kind of switch up of styles was prevalent on your first record. I mean, even the track, Hold On with Skinny Man.
Yeah, bro.
I mean, that's predates grime to a certain degree. Do you know what I mean? And the way that you both go back and forth spitting over that beat and the way you're rapping, that kind of scat rap, it's kind of that's
that's from
ridiculous.
Jungle, but it's just Also, if you listen to Bukkake Ski Trip, we love Bukkake Ski Trip. There's a fucking track with Vexed on there. Do you know what I'm saying? That's
Can I just ask you, the name Bukkake Ski Trip?
Yo, bro.
Who came up with it?
Me, bro.
I was going to say,
Come on, bro.
And what was the inspiration behind it?
Man,
Besides just watching porn or whatever.
I'll tell you. So we did our first tour in Canada in 2005, January 2006. And it was just, obviously, it was ice cold. We took Wild Child from Loot Pack on tour with us. Yeah. And fucking...
What was the track? Is it Let Go?
Yeah, Let Go, and there's Million Skill March as well we've done with him. And the Syntax is on that track too. But yeah, we took Wild Child with us, did 4 dates. It was just fucking bruv. My childhood friend Varun lives in Canada. I've got other friends from Dubai who live in Canada, and it's you see where my humor comes from. Bruv, it's because of these fucking guys, basically. The world is lucky that they don't rap, right? It would have been way more polluted than me, you know what I'm saying? I'm a watered down version of these fucks.
Amazing, man.
And yeah, basically, just like old like childhood friends on tour, just doing ridiculous rock and roll shit, and just it was just a riot. And then Bukkake was the word of the week, and then there was a Bukkake ski trip after that. So I was like, that's what the fucking mixtape was
So
called.
you just, I do like how you really just don't give a fuck, do you?
Come on, bro. I mean, I
Has
do,
it
I do,
ever
I do,
got
I do
you in
give a
in,
fuck.
like,
I do.
a lot
I
of
do.
trouble, like music in in
I
terms
mean,
of.
I
like,
do.
being
I
an
do give a
artist?
fuck, but like in terms of like what conform to who, like, bro, that's an entertaining name for a mixtape. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a fucking sick name. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think
Why,
it's great.
but also at the same time, it's like
It's memorable.
Jest isn't going to call his mixtape Bukkake Ski Trip. Do you know what I'm saying? Skinny Man isn't going to do that. Loki isn't going to fucking do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Wretch 3-2 isn't going to fucking do that. Who's going to do
Did
that?
you ever have
Me.
any was there ever any kind of, you said there was some internal discrepancies and disagreements at times, as naturally that's going to occur when there's like multiple people involved. When it came to like naming and like writing tracks and like naming an EP like that, for example, Bukkake Ski Trip, did anyone like step back and say, hold on a fucking minute?
I mean, it was slightly different in those days because
Yeah.
I was the one doing all the work and I started the group and I'd make the decisions and
Fair enough.
so I was like, that's just what was going on because I'd kind of started before that.
Yeah.
Like, but then as things kind of progressed, like after United Colors of Begatron, I mean, like, okay, Hit That Gash was a difficult situation for us just because Matrop, his mum was one of the biggest anti-FGM campaigners in the world, right? So FGM is female genital mutilation, and she's one of the biggest campaigners for that. And obviously, for him to do a tune called Hit That Gash is a fucking...
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? But then, like, didn't for me, it was just, this is just some ratchet crazy shit at the time, you know? But then, understanding that and understanding, like, I was, like, wanting him to be on the tune, but then I didn't clock it for a while, why he was, like, not jumping on it. And then after a while, it was kind of, like, only afterwards that I really understood. And I was like, oh, fuck. But I was, like, kind of, like, really putting it on him. Like, why the fuck aren't you jumping on this tune, man? This is a fucking banger. Like, don't be so sensitive. It's hilarious. It's lighthearted. And it's, like... progressive, no one else is doing this shit, it's gonna bang, you know what I mean, especially if you're on it, like, so that's why he wasn't on the tune. I mean, there's been loads of things like that over the years where, like, even in the beginning, I think, like, kind of really going the electronic route was the kind of something that I kind of like, kind of was feeling more and feeling to bring in. But, like, he wasn't necessarily into fucking electro.
Was Trop more hip-hop orientated?
Yeah, I think he's very much kind of more classically into hip-hop. And I think, like, his relation, like, when he was younger, he kind of, like, he fell in love with hip-hop in me, I was already listening to fucking crazy death metal, so my imagination's already all over the place, in terms of what, can get put on a record. And the maddest thing is, like, when he was a kid, he went back to Ghana, and he was like brought up, as a Christian, as like a Mormon Latter-day Saint there, and loads of different type of Christian churches. And he even remembers hearing when he was a kid, he was like, "Yo, there's these people in the West, and they listen to this satanic death music, rare." Then he meets me, and I'm fucking playing him all of these bangers. And he's like, "Yeah, all the fucking people I heard about," So, so like balancing all of that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But then also like just his approach to writing and art is completely different to mine as well. Like he's very focused. He like every single word, every single syllable, every single line, every single bit of information that he communicates is very considered. And it has to be very aligned with, his belief systems and all of that stuff, where I'm a bit more, I feel like this today, or I feel like that. I'm a bit more random. I'll say,
bit of a maverick.
I'll stick fucking Say the Masochist, film of Spastic Pets, and like my deep tune,
So has there ever been a time where you've said something that's gotten you in a lot of trouble?
Not necessarily. I mean, like in social situations, probably.
Who hasn't, man?
Actually, I mean, kind of. I don't know. I mean, like I'm quite sensitive in terms of how I, people feel and how I make people feel. Because I mean, I've been, bullied or treated like a fuck. Just not treated right, and I don't believe in hurting anybody else. So I'm quite sensitive to that. But I think, I mean, there's definitely some shit I've said on records which I will not say again ever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like all of that, like I'll bring it up, like all of that homophobia shit, like
yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, I mean, like, there was a time, like, you know, people could say the word faggot, like, here and there. Do you know what I'm saying? I would never, ever, you know, once I really, like, understood.
Yeah.
I was never homophobic in the way that, like, oh, you know, or don't speak to gay people or this or that. It's just, you know, just the kind of shit that you have in your environment when you're a kid. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
or the kind of shit that was said in school because it was, you know, you just don't really take it into consideration. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody from my generation that I know, they used to go to the packy shop. Do you know what I'm saying? People wouldn't fucking say that shit anymore, but it was all right. And then people used to say that to me in my environment, like, all right, cool, let's go. I'm like, it's a bit like,
I think as well,
Do you
if
know
you
what I mean?
can't like personally grow as a person and realize these things, and like that's, you know, that's all we have, isn't it? We need the capacity to be able to change and reflect and think, yeah, I was wrong to say that, but I wouldn't do it now. That's good. That's
Yeah,
growth
of course.
as a human.
I think
do you know what
definitely,
I mean?
do you know what I'm saying? But I
Yeah.
think, I mean, like, I think it's just being able to, like, consider it, understand it, time and place, you know what I'm saying?
100%,
like,
man.
yeah,
How did you develop your like style of rapping? Because it is very kind of unorthodox. It's very distinct. When I hear you on wax, I'm always like, yeah, that's OV, man. Like,
Because I think, what was I listening to? I don't know, man. I just like fell in love with a lot of different rap styles. You know what I'm saying? I think when I first started rapping, because obviously I heard the Brotherhood album. So Brotherhood was a big UK influence for me from the beginning, and then after that, I'd heard Mud Fam. I heard Roots Maneuver. Actually, no, I heard Black Twang at the same time as I heard. So Black Twang and Brotherhood were the first UK stuff I got into, and Arnick from Dark Circle. I went to school with him, so he showed me those bits. But when I started rapping, I'm just lucky that the people I had around me just used to bang really dope hip hop music, and they used to really understand what was dope. So when we started rapping and freestyling, we were listening to Boot Camp. You know, we were listening to early Outkast. We were listening to fucking, for me, like Redman. Redman was really important. So when I started rapping, I was bumping Muddy Waters all the time.
Reggie Noble, man.
And I think
Legend.
like that was really important because that really I just kind of put swag in my brain. You know how we like raps kind of like late on the beat and the ad libs are all there. You know what I'm saying? There's never like on that kind of like in front of the beat, immortal technique kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
so it just kind of swagged me out from early listening to Redman basically and Helter Skelter. And then
Sean P.
oh, rest in peace to Gort. Anyway, so after that, I think there was I went to the States. I think I was like in like 95, 96, around, you know, like when those mouse skate videos are coming out and shit. I think I had this J-Rock mixtape, Walkman Rotation, DJ Babu Volume 1, Volume 2, Beat Junkies mixtapes. And then I picked up DJ Honda, but then also Sound Bombing 1 and Company Flow, Fun Crusher Plus. And then kind of cottoning onto like where it was kind of getting like kind of, you know, pushing the envelope artistically. That was kind of like when I started rapping, that was kind of, I think LP, the way LP was rapping kind of had an influence because it was like, you know, like not necessarily bang, you know, like how Boot Camp just flipped on the beat, but it was very like conversational. And you go round about and you come back to the rhyme. So it was really
I like how
that's kind of had an influence on me in the beginning.
LP and Killer Mike obviously doing the Run the Jewels thing now.
Yeah.
I love how they've been about a minute doing their own things, and now they've come together, in their like 40s and still making absolutely banging music, which is marketable.
It's a fucking beautiful thing to see, man.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
LP, bruv, LP is a fucking... Anyway, bruv, like... LP is a big reason why me and Metropolis are in a fucking group together. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like we bonded over fucking our love for fucking Company Flow, Fun Crusher Plus, and he heard the way that I was rapping on fucking Coded Rhythm Talk with Task Force.
Yeah.
Like that's pure like fucking Def Jux inspiration. How I'm rapping on that. And especially the second verse, like I'm dryly spiteful, sly, entirely decipherable. That whole verse, that's an LP inspiration right there, you know. So when Metropolis heard that was what made him kind of want to connect with me, and then obviously we started doing our shit after that. But yeah, so to see like, and then LP, then what he, you know, breaking away from Raucous, and then putting out, obviously fucking making Fun Crusher Plus, and then doing Def Jux, do you know what I'm saying? That's like a really important fucking section of hip hop, which is very inspirational to us. And just to see the fact that like a dude who comes from like that weird angular place is now you know,
Yeah.
now could charge 200 bags for a show and is like in a situation where
It's almost
he's
like
getting recognition is really important, man.
he's
You know
he's
what I'm
almost
saying?
kind of like, if you know about LP, they're very like kind of underrepresented
Yeah.
in kind of in a commercial sense.
Yeah.
And even now, I mean, I went to see Run the Jewels a few years ago, and Killer Mike was fucking in. He had a broken arm. He was rocking
Yeah.
a sling and still like absolutely killing it, man.
That's what they do. But I mean, like, you know, it'll be the same feeling as if you seen fucking Task Force get with a top 10 record. Do you know what I'm saying? Or if you see like Jest has got a top 10 record.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
me, anyway, it's the same feeling as seeing, you know, people coming from that background, you know, killing it like that. You know.
Do you still like listen to all of those guys? And you know, your kind of contemporaries when you first came out in the UK hip hop scene.
Bruv, they're bangers, man. Like every single record that Kashmir puts out, I bang to death. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I mean, like, I still listen to everybody, really. I mean, I say I listen to everybody. I mean, I hear a lot of things that are going on. Obviously, like, you can't not listen to a Jess record when it comes out. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't not listen to a Chester P album when it comes out. You know, those are really important things for me. But I think right now it's the most beautiful time that fucking UK rap music has ever seen. And this is like what the playing field is now is, you know, what everybody was dreaming about, you know, in like 94, 95, 96, you know, even before that, you know. So, you know, the fact that an artist like Giggs, who's the same age as me, maybe older, couple of years, or Wiley, who's older than me, can bang out tracks, or, you know, you've got, 2 years ago, who was the Mercuries? It was Lil Connor, Jay Huss, Kate Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck? That's three completely different spectrums of rap music from the UK, you know, represented. And beautiful. What was it this year? Lil Sims, Slow Tie. Do you know what I'm saying? This is it's a beautiful era, and it's actually finally. I think it's due to, you know, I mean, there's a lot of work that people have done over the years, but I think I have to credit a lot of the grime scene for doing it and backing it and really growing it and really working the independent side of it, the hustle, understanding the business, and actually really connecting with the youth and bringing people through. And I have to credit Giggs as well, you know. I mean, directly, because he was one of the first guys that was just decided that, like, fuck this BBC bottleneck shit, fuck all of you guys, you're not gonna play my record. And basically, he just went on Gully and just took his fucking CD to every single hood in the country, put it in there. However, he put it in the shop, whether he said, "You're selling these now," or he did an SOR with them. He did it and then kind of got his following big enough that he didn't need anybody else. So he bust his own door down. And what that did was kind of, it showed so many people that they could do it themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so what he did there is very important for how Skepta came through. I mean, like, Boy Better Know are fucking strong and they've been doing this shit for so long. But the fact that doing it like that opens it up that for an artist to be in a situation where you can be independent and fucking go through. Like, look at AJ Tracy. He's not signed to anybody. Look at him.
Yeah.
He's independent.
Completely independent. Fuck. Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
Obviously,
man.
you know,
like
collabs and things like that.
Did not know that.
Independent.
Do you know what I mean? Stormzy is an independent artist, man.
Yeah, that's his, and he headline Glass though. That's just like
Mad.
that's
I mean,
my-
like, how old is he now? 24?
Yeah,
He's
man.
finally got himself in a situation where he's paying fucking... He's got his own scholarships for kids to go to fucking Cambridge.
Oh, that's
At
incredible,
24
man.
years old. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like... I mean, I'm not saying these things weren't possible. I'm not saying, you know, artists couldn't have done it from our generation, but I think it was a lot harder because there's a lot of adversity there as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, there had to be a generation that paved the way for it.
Yeah.
And sort of put in the sort of seeds and sowed the seeds.
Yeah, of course. I
essentially.
mean, that's been happening here for a long time, since fucking London Posse, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the weirdest thing that I think like as progressive and non-prejudice, or as, you know, as you think Great Britain is, like, there is like a systemic thing which is a bit more fucked, because it's like, okay, there's more street level open racism and ignorance in America, I would say. Do you know what I'm saying? But over here, it's a situation where you go to any other country in the world, right? Whether it's fucking Estonia or Germany or France or just any of these places, and they've had their own rap superstars, do you know what I mean? As big as any other rock star for a long time. And like, why is the UK never, like, I think in terms of what gets big over here is for a long time was decided by major labels and playlists, you know, BBC playlists. So
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? So why is it a situation where progressive kind of black artists from this country were never able to get that kind of backing and also kind of get their message and their voice out. Do you know what I mean?
I think
like,
it's a lot. It's very much down to it's gone like with technology. For example, Stormzy wouldn't have done without YouTube. Stormzy wouldn't have.
Exactly. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Getting to a point where like they were able to bust down the door, where got to the point where the BBC couldn't ignore them, and they had to be like, rather than let's make a little BBC One Extra on the side, and you can play all your little rap music over here. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, like who was one of the first people that came through? Chipmunk, like bruv, like how long ago was that? 10 years ago?
Probably more than that now. Yeah, like
10, 11 years. Okay, what you with 2019? That's 2009. 2009. Look at I Am in France. How big were they? You know, like they're like fucking national treasure superheroes. Do you know what I'm saying? They're like in their 50s now. Do you know what I'm saying? But then they were able to kind of get their message out and connect with. Do you know what I mean? I think like it's interesting that voice of Great Britain was never really able to come to the fore. Do you know what I'm saying? Where there was a.
So I was going to say, I think it's crazy to think as well, like what we were speaking about before with the show, the Rap Game.
Yeah.
How that's now the BBC have completely incorporated.
Yeah, completely.
They have to if they want to stay relevant.
Yeah. So I think like coming back to what I was saying, like I mean, I'm not saying there were artists from my generation that didn't have the opportunity to do that, but it's a big fucking responsibility to kind of be a spokesperson for a nation. Do you know what I'm saying? And also kind of at a point where, you know, if you're that guy, those days, say for example, 2001, 2002, say for example, like an artist like Kalashnikov kind of bust through and became like a mainstream artist. You know what I'm saying? Like he's on TV or they were inviting him to be on TV like Big Nasty, or do you know what I mean? Like imagine the kind of fucking fuckeries, the Sun and all of those, even at times, or even like the fucking veiled kind of shit that would be coming from places like The Guardian who were supporting, you know what I mean? And like to be able to stand up in the face of that, do you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, you know, especially be there on your own if you're an introverted artist from that, you know, from that period, and suddenly you've got all of this fucking hatred. What you want to do is make, you know what I mean? It's like it's a really kind of difficult place to be in, but by being oppressed and holding it down for so long, like now, bruv, like you've got fucking Swiss Beats going on fucking The Breakfast Club talking about the next biggest rapper in the world is going to be from the UK. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. You got endorsements from, you know, the likes of Drake and people like that who were kind of, and you know, obviously there's kind of mixed opinion about his involvement in, you know, the grime scene and but think of it what you want. He's still,
bruv.
What's your opinion on it?
You know what? Bruv, he's done more for UK music than half of these fucking bitches in the UK talking about UK music.
I could not agree more, yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily talking about Wiley's fucking opinion of it, because he can have his and he has his situation, he understands, he has his personal relationship with Drake. I know a lot of people who've dealt with Drake over the years and understood that how he kind of takes on the inspiration from situations and this whole culture vulture shit. But the thing is, he genuinely does love it. And he is one of the biggest artists in the world, and he's putting motherfuckers on. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't see anybody calling fucking Mike Skinner a culture vulture for putting on grime. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, that's a very good point.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he loves it, and he's from it, do you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, you know?
Yeah,
like,
man, I hear you.
Yeah, because I went to go and see him at the show he did in Brixton. I think he put JK on.
Yeah, he put on JK, he puts on... Bruv, he's taking fucking Grim Sickers on tour with him. I think it's a fucking amazing thing, you know what I mean? Like, bruv, if you want to put fucking gigs on... Bruv, Drake put in gigs on his album. Drake could put any motherfucker on his album in the world. He's chosen to put gigs on, and okay, there'll be a certain amount of backlash, but that's fucking nearly 1 billion motherfuckers that he's putting on, like showing UK music exists, and it's fucking hard, and it's on my album.
And what do you think about that? The backlash that happened with Ed Sheeran doing the song with JK and stuff.
Basically, I don't give a fuck about that. But I think, like, fuck it, like, dude, like, honestly, like. I don't, like, in terms of internal fucking politics between artists, I don't give a fuck about that. I think Ed Sheeran could have sounded a bit harder on that track, because I know he can spit and I know he can come hard, but again, he's a pop artist, you know what I'm saying? And he has to do things. Okay, fine. So I think, like, Ed Sheeran, like, using them artists to get his thing through, okay, that works. It's a symbiosis, do you know what I'm saying? Bruv, JK's got a fucking #1 tune now. Are you mad? JK from fucking Birmingham. Bruv, it's a beautiful thing, man. Like, you know, British people are very fucking good at hating on any kind of success. Yeah. And that's why a lot of artists were shook to come through in my generation, I think. Do you know what I'm saying? They were almost shook to be successful because the amount of fucking shit that they would have to take and how much they would have to back. But, bruv, what the fuck, man? I mean, I think, like, for me, I'm quite particular about if people behave in a certain way, if they appropriate culture, if they're disrespectful, or if they're using things. But, bruv, what the fuck, man? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
so going back onto the Beggars, yeah. So like next month kind of marks quite a sad time for UK hip hop. Obviously, you guys are putting on your last show, London, the Garage.
You sound so fucking sad, bro.
I'm really sad. I am, man.
You're gonna make me sad.
I am, man. I'm honestly crestfallen about it, man. But obviously, your legacy will live on, and you're doing your own thing with the Vulgatron project.
Yeah.
We can go into that a little bit in a minute. But so what's in store for your? Obviously, you don't have to give any spoilers per se. But for this show in the Garage in London, man, what can people expect? 'Cause the lineup looks fucking heavy.
Yeah, just bringing out a lot of people that we've worked with over the years, people that we've known for a long time. I just want to give everybody who comes something special to experience.
Skinny man there, because the poster like kind of implied that he might be. It was just like S.
I don't want to upset anybody else in the scene.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? By announcing something that. Anyway, whatever.
Everyone wants to see that hold on though, don't they, man?
Bruv, come on, of course you're going to do that. And you know what I'm saying? Like, anytime I'm in the same place with Skinny, we're going to bang that fucking tune. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry.
One of the best UK hip hop tracks of all time, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Easily,
proud of that
man.
one.
Easily.
But yeah, so there's a lot of things happening there. I couldn't just fucking, I started doing a project with Seymour Beats, and it was going to be like a 7-track like mini album. But I kind of like whilst we started that, Metropolis was saying that he wanted to do his own thing, and so I decided to make that an album. And we've got one more Foreign Beggars album in the bag, featuring a lot of special artists, which is this needs to not come out before the 30th. No.
It's not,
I'm
man.
saying if I want to talk about this.
Saying, man, this is coming out on the eve of Brexit. So this is the fuck Brexit
wicked.
come Halloween podcast.
All right, boom. Foreign Beggars is announcing a new album on the Fuck Brexit Halloween podcast. It's called Matriarchy. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And it features a lot of special artists. It's kind of come back full circle because it's like a really deep, soulful, emotive hip-hop album. We've got Maverick Sabre on there. I done a tune with Jest and Black Twang. I got a track with DRS and Abri from Dubai. Maverick Sabre and Marley Hayes. Myself and Metropolis on a track. Who else is on there? Got a track with Sonny Jim and Lee Scott.
Shit.
I'm not fucking around, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had to call my mates, all the people I hadn't done tunes with. There's a bang. I done a tune with Jammer and Flowdown on there as well.
Yeah.
There's some bangers on there, man. So the first track that we're releasing from the album is like a really bittersweet song dedicated to, young people, and hopefully they can look past all of this fucking gang shit, So it's called Young Kings and Queens, and yeah.
Nice, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man.
Gas for that. Honestly, like before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to plug? Anyone you want to shout out?
Just shout
anything
out.
you want to talk about?
Just want to shout out everybody actually doing shit, not talking about it, doing shit. Do you know what I'm saying? Building. You know what I'm saying? Not. You know what I mean? I want to big up everybody like who's the reason and not the excuse. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just I want to tell anybody who's listening to this that when somebody asks you what you're doing, just check yourself. And if you start giving reasons why it's not happening before you've even told them what you're doing, do you know what I'm saying? Then you're the excuse. So fucking just do shit. It's not that hard. It's not like, the album's not going to get done in a day. Just write one bar, make a tune step by step, and just fucking, if you really love it that much, just build it and it'll come.
Oh man, that's inspirational, man. But thanks again for jumping on the podcast, man. It's been humbling experience. Absolutely honoured, mate. And before we wrap up, Aidan, where can you find the podcast,
Yes,
man?
you can find the podcast on an e-stream platform on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all that. Be sure to subscribe, and then follow up. Man, Pav.
Where can we find you, Pav?
Basically, I guess it's all about Instagram now, isn't it?
Is,
You know what I'm saying? So
down with the kids.
Basically, it's you can call me on no joking. It's fucking at pav.4n is my personal one, and I'm about to let off something I ain't spoken about with anybody, and that's a special project which is coming next year. But also you can check out my Vulgatron shit, which is dropping on Never Say Die Records. That's Vulgatron with a 0. And yeah, so check out those two things mainly. Follow up the rest of the Foreign Beggars, No Names FBS, and Elliot_York to check out what Metropolis is going to be up to in the future. And that's that, you know what I'm saying?
Bless, man. Well, it's been an absolute honour, my
safe,
friends.
man.
Safe, bro. Big up, big up.
Safe journey home, man. So we're going to play out with the new track, Young Kings and Queens, featuring Maverick Sabre
And Marley Hayes.
and Molly Hayes.
Brett.